Hello and welcome to the Armchair Show. I'm your host, Tanisha, and I'm so thrilled to have you guys with us here today. Today I'm joined by two fantastic guests, and we'll kick off with a very quick introduction of who you are and where you're from.
Hi, I'm John Granby. I'm a Chief Commercial Officer for Our Net Energy.
I'm Des Evans. I was the Managing Director of MAN Truck and Bus for many years. I'm now a retired visiting professor at Aston Business School.
Fantastic. We've been having some very interesting conversations before we started filming today, so I'm hoping I can ask you a few questions about that if possible.
Of course.
Now, for anyone that isn't aware, a lot of our audience is in the automotive industry, some trucks, some cars. Can we maybe start off with a quick overview of, I guess, the real difference in transitioning from diesel to electric in the truck market in comparison to the car market?
Okay. The price of an electric car as opposed to an internal combustion engine car, the price differential is a lot closer and getting ever closer each time a new entrant to the market comes in, the price drops. So there isn't a real difference there. However, in trucks, cost of an electric tractor unit, one that pulls a container along, is probably treble the cost of an internal combustion engine. So quite a significant challenge for hard-pressed fleet operators. Would you agree?
Well, coming from the OEM side of the business and understanding what it's like to manufacture trucks, yes, I think the transition from the internal combustion engine to electrification is going to be a very difficult one. I think for the light and medium heavy goods vehicles, that's from, like, say, 7 ton up to 18 ton, which is around 60% of the business. That's going to be a lot easier. But for 40% of the market, which is the heavy goods articulated vehicles, that is a very hard transition indeed. I think, as John just said, the average price of a 500 brake horsepower tracked unit is 120 grand for a new one. For a new electric vehicle, 500, 600 kilowatt hour, you're talking 350, maybe 400,000 pounds. It is a big jump. And then you have the big issue on infrastructure and range and charging costs. And I think that's where your company, John, is going to have a big impact on this market.
Hopefully, yes. So what we do is we take away, if you look at the problem in two sections, one is the cost of the truck, the other is the cost of the infrastructure. We take away the cost of the infrastructure. We put in whatever is required from battery, storage, charge points, and we pay for all the capital cost. It's paid for through cheaper electricity than the person's currently paying at the moment. So it's a win-win situation for them. They get cheaper electricity and all of the infrastructure. The other thing we do is we give them a grid capacity upgrade, which if they had to wait for that from a DNO, a distribution network operator like Scottish Power or someone like that, they could be waiting for a year, 2 years, maybe 10 years for an infrastructure upgrade. We can give them, as a general rule of thumb, between 6 and 10 times whatever their incoming electricity is. We can give them that as an upgrade. So if they've got 256 kVA, we might be able to get them 2 megawatts through use of battery, solar, and very cheap electricity.
So 3 times more expensive on average.
On a capital cost.
Yeah.
But the capital cost is only a small part. In terms of the internal combustion engine, it represents about 10% of the total operating cost. In the electrification mode, it's probably 30, nearly 40% of the operating cost. So to give you some example, Motor Transport, which is the commercial magazine for the transport and logistics industry, they produce their annual cost tables. And if you look at the total cost of operating a 100,000 mile tracked unit and trailer, you've got an average cost per mile of about £2 a mile. if you now try and calculate that for an electric 600 kilowatt hour, 40 ton tracked unit and trailer, it's nearly £3 a mile because of the cost of the electricity. You're talking about £40,000 worth of diesel compared to between £60,000 and £80,000 worth of kilowatt hour charging. So there's a massive differential here that has to be dealt with. And I think the concept of John's business, I think, is going to be quite a smart way of bridging that gap and helping the transition.
See, those figures are very good. One of the problems that we've got is an education problem with truck operators because, and car and van operators as well. People are pre-programmed. When you're running out of fuel, you go to a fuel station and you refill. But if you go to a motorway services to get your electricity, you'll be paying 80 pence a kilowatt hour.
Right.
If you were charging a car at home, you'd probably be paying 5 pence a kilowatt hour because you're using it off peak. That's where we come in. We give people electricity at a price that's comparable to maybe not a home operation, but as cheap as they can get their electricity in their office. That's how expensive it is to fill a truck. So we bring that price differential the other way. We make electricity cheaper than diesel to run. And that's, we think, our USP and something that will turn the business on its head.
And how are you finding, you said the challenge is the education piece?
The main problem with educating a truck operator is they don't operate on very high margins.
Yeah.
They're
3%, did I hear before we started filming?
Well, if they're doing well, 3%.
Let me put that in perspective.
Yeah.
Gregory Transport, which is one of the biggest transport operators in the UK, operating, I think it's over 1,000 tracked units now. John Gregory, the principal of the company, once said that the average truck makes £5,000 a year.
Wow.
£100 a week or £20 a day. £20 a day. I mean, these are not only the thinnest of thinnest margins, but it's also in the highest risk business. Yeah. So you can imagine the transition now to electric or to that form. It's almost a non-starter until you can get those margins improved or the cost down. So it's a really difficult decision. I think the other thing from an education point of view, as you said, if you look at last year's truck registrations over 7 ton, it's a 45,000 unit market. I think it's 44,988 vehicles I think were registered, trucks, that is. This is how well educated and how big the demand is for electric vehicles. There were 217 electric vehicles registered. So we've got a long way to go. And we've got a long way to go in improving the business model. And I think the proving ground is going to be more in the light and medium end, 7 ton to 18 ton, which is lower, lower mileage, back to base. We're not talking 600 kilowatt hour battery packs. We're talking a variety of 180 to 300 kilowatt hour battery packs for 7 tonners, 10 tonners, 18 tonners. A lot of local distribution, a lot of local authority businesses. And I think that's also where the education needs to start to prove the business model. But, 45,000 units a year, we've got until 2040 for the big ones, 26 ton and above, before the regulations come in. But it's going to take the next 10 years at least, 10 to 15 years to develop not only the infrastructure, but also to develop the education and the mindset to take this on board. It's going to be a big challenge for the industry.
What do you think the industry can do better at? What's missing to help with that education piece?
I've got a great answer.
Well, I'll have
That's
a go, and then
Des
Des
spot now,
can.
hasn't it? Because you know he's got a great answer.
No, I'll tell you one example, which I'm sure there's multiple examples that you can use. But I was with a well-known truck operator in Northern Ireland a couple of weeks ago, and he said, electric vehicles are no good for me. They can't do the range. And I said, what do you mean? And he said, well, my diesel trucks, I'll call them diesel trucks, they'll do 700 or 800 kilometres on one tank. I said, do they do that in a day? And he said, oh, no. I said, how many miles do they do in a day? Kilometres do they do in a day? And he said, I don't know. And I said, well, a driver can go for 4.5 hours before legally they have to stop for 45 minutes. Then they can go for another 4.5 hours in theory. Do they actually drive for 9 3/4 hours a day?
Driving.
And they said, no, they don't. They probably do 9 tops. I said, right, well, a vehicle will cover 250 kilometres in the first 4.5 hours. Then they brake, which they could get a charge in if there was a charger available, but they don't need to because the range of an e-Actros, I'm not promoting any brands, but I just know this figure to be correct, it does 600 kilometres with a full payload. So if it'll do 600 kilometres, you've done 250, then you have your brake. You're not going to do another 250, but even if you did, you wouldn't hit the range of that truck. He said, I never knew that.
Can I interrupt?
Yeah.
The legal speed is 56 miles an hour. And the actual speed is closer to 30 miles an hour. So if you were to travel the legal 4.5 hours before you had to have your legal break at 30 miles an hour, you wouldn't even hit 200 miles. So it's well within a range capability of most of the trucks. So that's one. That's one education thing. But I've got a very simple solution for some of these questions.
I love a simple solution.
Yeah, my advice to a lot of the OEMs and to their dealers in particular, right? Quite simple. Answer your phones. Because if you've tried to get hold of anybody in this industry right now, one of the biggest issues is getting people to talk to you or to answer their phones or even phone you back. It's all very well having these low-cost automated phone systems that will put you can listen to Schubert's Unfinished Symphony for 2 hours before anybody picks up the phone. Answer your bloody phones. This is one recommendation I would ask any OEM and its associated dealer network right now in terms of that's how you might help your customers learn a little bit more about what you're doing.
Our sponsor Stuart from Cooltrax talks about that a lot and has a lot of data from the industry, and it's shocking how many times that phone goes unanswered. Is absolutely
communication,
shocking.
And everyone talks about communication, this internet connected world, but you cannot believe how unconnected a lot of the OEMs are and their dealers are from the actual customers and the consumers. I mean, that is, for me, one of the biggest areas of improvement that needs to be focused on. It's very simple, but it's not happening.
Also, from manufacturers through to government, there needs to be a lot more public information about what an electric vehicle can do. There needs to be more help with derogations on payloads and things like that, because someone might say, well, I can't have an electric truck because I lose so much weight off the truck because the battery's heavy and I'm not allowed to carry the payload. That can be overcome with greater flexibility on derogations at a government level. I'm not criticising the government. I'm just saying that it's in their gift to be able to do that.
I'd criticise the government. Well, and it doesn't matter.
He's retired.
No, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whether it's left or right or whatever. Do you know the average life of a transport minister in the last 20 years?
I don't know.
Okay. Well, the average parliament is 60 months, right? I think the average life of a transport minister is about 12 or 13 months.
Okay.
How can you legislate and properly educate the transport and logistics industry when we have such a poor performance at a transport ministry level? And at the end of the day, very few of these ministers even understand how important transport and logistics is to this country. 90% of everything we use, buy, wear, drink, eat goes by road. And you have 56-year-old HGV drivers, I think that's the average age of them, have nowhere to park. You see them parked up on A-road lay-bys. They get charged like hell for service station. I mean, the life of an HGV driver is a bloody difficult one. And there's another story, because we have not only do we have a shortage of drivers, the next generation of drivers does not exist. I don't know if you know this, but the average 17 plus age group in this country, 75% have a driver license. So over the age of 17, the 17 to 25 age group, which is your next generation of drivers, 41%, half. So where are the next generation of drivers coming from? And that brings you to another topic, maybe, that the future of not only transport, but the future of the automotive manufacturing and supply side business, it's not going to be about ownership. It's going to be about usership. And it's going to be mobility as a service. And it's going to be how many people have got an Uber account or autonomous driving mode. I mean, that's another big one. I mean, if you look at what BYD are doing in terms of, I don't know if this one, 7,500 BYD vehicles were moved from the factory in China to the shipping port, onto a container ship, travelled to German port, delivered to the German destination, offloaded, and were driven to the marshalling yard. How many drivers were involved? None. They were all autonomously driven from factory to the marshalling. And that is going to be the future of the next 5-10 years. We're going to see a revolution, not only in how vehicles are manufactured through various robotics, how they're managed in terms of the vehicle supply and the sales and the marketing and the after sales and then the recycling. We are looking at a major, major, major revolution.
How do we prepare for that revolution?
I think the more enlightened are preparing for it now. I think the legacy OEMs, and I've got a lot of time for them because I've spent 50 years working for Ford and Mercedes and Volkswagen MAN. So I have great respect for these organisations. These are the people that invented the modern motor age. They invented the internal combustion engine. They invented the diesel engine. But this transition to a decarbonised electric future, it's more than manufacturing the hardware and the product. It's the whole infrastructure of charging, the whole connected delivery, after-sales capability of the service network. These are the areas of revolution. And quite frankly, I can see the manufacturing side of the business now becoming very Chinese-centric because they've got 85% control over the components that are going to build these vehicles, and that the UK and Europe and maybe even America after Trump will become the service organisation for the world. So whether we like it or not, we're going to have to accommodate and have a friendly relationship with the Chinese because they've got the product, they are the manufacturing base, they've got access to all the essential raw earth materials. And I think we have to recognise that, we have to live with it, and we have to work with it. And this is where the revolution is going to be now, in the service organisation, not necessarily in the manufacturing. Big change.
And then also looking at it from a government point of view, it's great mandating that you're not allowed to produce an internal combustion engine after 2035. But we have to have the infrastructure to accommodate them. Obviously, I'm going to say that's where we come in. But we need to generate more electricity as a nation. So we need maybe another nuclear power plant. We need to use our natural resources, gas, oil. We've got to use them because There's no alternative.
Sure.
Our electricity in this country is the 6th most expensive in the world.
Wow.
The way we use battery wind farm electricity, it costs next to nothing. And that enables us to give people these grid capacity upgrades, put in their infrastructure with no capital cost. And that's great. But we're the only ones doing it, as far as I know, at the moment in the UK. There are other countries where people are doing what we're doing. But we need to educate people more of what we do and what we can do for them, how we can help them. And we are working very closely with all of the OEMs to try and get them to introduce us to their dealer networks, their customers, because we're facilitating the future sales of their trucks. I saw this when I'm from an automotive background, 25 years. And when I first heard about this idea, I thought it was like the silver bullet for selling electric vehicles. I'd never heard of anything as good as this. So we just need people to listen to the gospel.
John, do you think it's within the realms of possibility that you can become an electric charging supplier that includes a free truck?
Yeah, we talked about this earlier. The one thing that frightens me about that is I've always been taught the old adage, you don't run with the hare and hunt with the hound. So
I've not heard of that before.
Well, it just means that you don't, in a supply chain or in any economy, if you sell trucks, then you sell trucks. If you sell electricity, then you sell electricity, and never the twain shall meet. But like everything else these days,
I think that's going to change because we are, whether we like it or not, or whether we even recognise it or not, the UK has become a service economy.
Yeah,
we are
absolutely.
a service economy. If when I first started in this business back in 1973 in the truck business, there were 70,000 trucks assembled, manufactured here in the UK. There were 30 British truck manufacturers. Today, there's none.
Wow.
There's none. And the UK market is now a 45,000 market for trucks above 7 tonne, and they're supplied by 6 brands. And there's 2 Swedish, there's 2 German, there's one manufactured in Holland, DAF. They happen to be market leader in the UK, but they're owned by the American PACCAR. And then there's Iveco, who have just been taken over by Tata. So we don't have a single truck manufacturer here in the UK, whereas 50 years ago we did. And we are now a service economy. And I think these type of service developments, I can see a situation where an electrical charge supplier can be providing all the electricity at a fee. By the way, that includes the truck. And I think it could be quite a novel way of not only differentiation, but it could be a very interesting competitive advantage for one of the OEMs to take it on. It would certainly be a major piece of differentiation.
We are talking to OEMs about white labelling what we do for them.
Okay.
But that would be, we'll white label the electricity side of things. They can sell the trucks, because if something goes wrong with the truck, they're the people who've got to put it right. They're creating new trucks all the time. I do one specific service for them.
You know what you're good at.
So I would stick to that and let the OEMs piggyback on what I do, white label it, whatever you want to call it, and let them sell the trucks.
Okay, but the OEMs are under threat with the solid electrification, because if as John just pointed out, in an ICE vehicle you have over 2,000 components, right? And something like 80% of the profitability of an OEM comes from their aftermarket business, particularly the sale of parts.
Correct.
Now, in an electric vehicle, you have 20, maybe 30 components max. The revenue from after-sales business, and this is particularly relevant for the dealer networks, is colossal, and that is going to vanish. So you're going to have to supplement your offer, or you've got to create a new stream of revenue, whether that's through providing electrical charging, whether that's through recycling, whether that's through remanufacturing. This is where the revolution is going to be.
Yeah, because they can't, although they'd like to, they can't keep the price of the truck artificially high to supplement or to increase profit to supplement the losses of the after sales. I know that they'll say that, you know, we're recouping our research and development in the price of the truck. But we all know, you know, when they first brought out a calculator, it was about this size and it cost 25 quid when 25 quid was like £3,000 now. They were very expensive. Now you get one on your phone for free and it's better than the one that cost 25 quid 30 years ago, you know, so they can't stick to the thing that we're paying back research and development. The price is going to come down. So they've got to look for alternative ways of reaping that money back for after sales. And it might be through vehicle charging. It might be through different services that they offer. And Des's idea of, you know, selling a truck, giving a truck away when they buy their energy off you, that's a great idea. I'm sure there's lots of different ways of, as they say, of skinning a cat. They, no offence to cats, by the way. But, you know, that's down to the OEMs, and we're only too happy to provide input if they need us.
I think I only got a £50 Amazon voucher when I did my energy at home.
Oh, did you?
I didn't get a truck.
Didn't you? You might get a car.
I think, though, the other big issue, I think, is customer intimacy. If I'm looking at the truck world in particular now, because if you look at the market, as I say, it's a 45,000 market. But if you translate that into number of transactions, I remember when I was running the MAN company and we wanted to get to 10% market share for 4,500 trucks a year. We not only calculated, we discovered that to sell 4,500 trucks a year, you only needed 1,500 transactions, 1,500 customer transactions. And I know it's different in the car world, but for the truck business, knowing who your customers are in a very intimate role. So, and the other level of research that we did was, with every workshop within a 30-mile radius, you had around 20 customers that would be responsible for something like 80% of your turnover. And with 60 workshops times 20 customers, 1,200 customers, they would generate your 3,000 vehicles a year. So, but it's getting this knowledge, this data, this, what do you call it, search engine optimization in terms of knowing who your customers are, really getting to know them, you know. If you get to know your customers better, you'll get to know better customers. And I think this relationship with the marketplace is a big challenge for the OEMs and their dealer networks. And that's why I'm absolutely convinced if you answer your phone, you might survive. But this level of customer intimacy, it's never been more important.
I think that's sound advice for any business, though, isn't it? That you need to understand your
But
customer. People buy from people.
It's a big neglected area.
Completely.
At the end of the day, it is all about relationships. Relationship marketing really is the key to, and particularly if you are now not only about to become, but if you are a service-oriented business. It's absolutely crucial, this having the right people with the right relationships, with the right chemical, biological capabilities. It's if you haven't got that, you're not going to survive very long.
Completely.
Yeah.
It's more than hardware. You can have the best product in the world, but if you have not got that right human connection, you ain't going to go anywhere.
No. It helps, though, if you've got the best product in the world.
It does. Good product, good relationships.
But all products are good, to be quite honest. If I look at all the OEMs out there, they've all got great products.
Yeah.
The difference is their people. And that's the differentiator. You know, if you've got the best people, your competitors haven't got that. And that's your differentiator. That's your big differentiator. And at the end of the day, you have to be a disruptor now. You know, in this industry, it's no good being, more of the same and hoping to do a little bit better. No, you've got to go and disrupt. You've got to go and become your customer's best friend. You've got to go and help your customers become more profitable. And that way, you can keep them hooked to you. They've got to become addicted to you, you know. It's not a drug dealer, it's a truck dealer. You know?
No, and truck operators are very brand loyal.
Yeah.
In
Oh,
my
yes,
experience,
absolutely.
you know, you'll get someone who's been an MAN customer for 30 years. You get someone who's been a Scania customer for 30 years. A lot of people aspire to be Scania customers and Volvo customers. They seem to have the two biggest cachets in the truck business as an independent now. But you know, even all of the other brands, they all have their own following.
Yeah. Well, loyalty is quite interesting. We were asked the definition of loyalty, and someone said to me, loyalty, it's the absence of a lower price. And, okay, on one level, maybe. But if you look at the market leader in the truck business here, it's DAF. It's PACCAR. Now, I wouldn't say they've got the best product. The best product, I look at Volvo and Scania and Mercedes are leading. They've got great products. But DAF have a good product. But they have a fantastic service offering.
They do.
They have 145 workshops dedicated to service. And, you know, they've got 25-30% market share. You know, 3 times what we at MAN had and you know, strive for 20 years to maintain. It's very difficult knocking DAF off their pedestal because their dealers provide such a good level of service. And this is what I'm saying, that the service offering is far more important than the hardware. And it's an area that I think all OEMs are now going to have to focus on because it's going to be a very hard game just trying to sell the hardware.
It is, because there's a lot of new entrants from the Far East coming in that are going to be a lot cheaper than the heritage manufacturers. So really the only differentiator they have are either customer loyalty or service. That's it. Because otherwise, why would they pay double the price or treble the price?
Yeah, completely. And before we end today's episode, one of the things I'm really keen to make sure that we do on this episode is find out how you can help those dealers and truck businesses save money with what you do. Because I'm really keen that we've kind of covered it, that you can, but we haven't really explained the how. Okay,
so our approach has been to go to an OEM, then to their dealers, then to their customers by referral. The reason we do that is because we want to sell a total solution to a particular brand, and we're dealing with all the brands. But we'll look at a premises. Most commercial premises in the UK have an incoming electricity supply of between 100 and 256 kVA, kilovolt amps. That's nowhere near enough to charge one electric truck. Even if they switch the kettle off and the fridge off and all the lights off, they're still going to be there for hours trying to charge that truck. We use a combination of smart grid. We have our own smart grid, which buys in really cheap electricity, carbon, net zero, ZERG certified electricity from battery wind farms. The battery wind farms are wasting electricity. The government or the grid hasn't got the capacity to take all of the electricity that they produce. We sell it. So we're buying it for absolutely buttons. Let's say we buy 1,000 gigawatts of electricity. That disappears into the grid. I don't know where it goes when it's in the grid. It could be anywhere. However, we've bought 1,000 gigawatts of electricity, so we're entitled to sell 1,000 gigawatts of carbon net zero ZERG certified electricity. So on the one hand, that's great for businesses who are trying to boost their green credentials. They're buying carbon net zero electricity. On the other hand, it's miles cheaper than what they're paying now. On average, we're around 20%. We won't always be. Sometimes we'll be 57%. Sometimes we'll be 10%. But we'll always be cheaper. So we're selling them cheap electricity. Fantastic. What else can we do? Well, we want to sell more electricity. So if by giving them a grid capacity upgrade by putting in a big storage battery of up to 6 megawatts, depending on what their supply is. If we give them between a 6 and 10 fold increase in what their incoming supply is. So if it's 256 kilowatt hours, and in this case we can give them an 8-fold increase, they can have 2 megawatts of electricity. That's enough to charge trucks. We optimize when we buy that electricity at the cheapest rate. We store a large battery packed with electricity so that when they need it most, that battery's full. We use voltaic batteries, which can take electricity from the grid while they're dispensing. So like your iPhone, you can use your iPhone or Samsung, whichever you use. You can plug it in and still use it. It's getting charged while you're dispensing charge. Our batteries are the same.
And that's enough to power, I would say, 10 light and medium trucks with a 200 kilowatt hour battery pack. So that would be very good for local urban distribution, local authority, municipal type applications. And that's where the majority, 60% of the truck vehicle population operates right now. And I think that is it would be a very good starting point to actually prove this business model. And instead of selling 217 electric trucks a year, you can probably end up selling 20,000 because that's really where it's got to go over the next 10, 15 years.
So the other thing we do, as well as increasing the grid capacity and selling cheap electricity, is we'll put in all the infrastructure that they need. So if they need chargers, the battery, the solar, the cabling, the site digging and everything, the infrastructure, we pay for all of that. They just buy electricity off us cheaply. If at any point during the contract they can buy electricity cheaper anywhere else, which invariably someone will come up with a cheap price, we'll discount that by 5% to retain them as a customer. We have get-outs for them on SLAs. If we don't meet our SLAs, they can ask us to leave. But we're not going to miss an SLA because we can't afford to. We've got to keep supplying. We're selling energy. That's all we want to do. If they want bigger chargers, better chargers, more battery power, then we'll put it in because it means that they'll buy more electricity off us. Fantastic. So we take away, remember the truck and the infrastructure. We take away all the infrastructure problems. It's just down to the OEM. And if Des's idea of the OEM...
I'll come and help you do it, John.
Yeah, if Des's idea of getting the OEM to give away a truck to buy our electricity, then I'm all for that.
Amazing. Thank you both so much for joining us today. It's been a pleasure to have you both. Thank you for watching today's episode of The Armchair Show. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe.
Armchair.